they're just phenomenal. You have the best trial team in this country. And I don't even think people, I guess sometimes you're too close to something and you're there around it every day and you don't understand what it is you have. And you have got a phenomenal trial team that is a brand that's building an incredible reputation for this school. But you also have Steve Scheller. Steve, could you come up here? And Steve and I have known each other. We handle the same kinds of cases, and we've been handling them together for a long time, haven't we?
A long time. Yeah.
And as I've watched his career, the thing that I've focused on is there are so many attorneys. I call them cowboys, and you'll hear me talk about this a lot. The cowboy is there. It's no longer relevant. It's yesterday's news. It's the cowboy lawyer who, the fast drinker, the womanizer, my plane's bigger than your plane, that kind of. That has always been such an awful thing to me as far as the image of trial lawyers. It has been the biggest, it's been the biggest impediment for us improving the lives of Americans, of so many people. But I've watched Steve, and Steve would be in a room of these cowboys. And these cowboys, well, how big was your verdict? How big is that new house you built in Aspen? And you know what Steve would talk about? Steve would talk about how big is what you've done for your community. And they'd shut up. Because what he's done for his community, ladies and gentlemen, is phenomenal. And when Mark Proctor and I came up here, and we met Dean Epps, and we met the incredible staff. Judge Moss brought us up here, and she said, you got to meet this person. Everybody was even more, time after time, I'd say, my God, that's an impressive person. And it's right up the line. And we got to Steve Scheller. And I want to, for 16 years, many of you know what MTMP is. It's a program that takes place in Las Vegas twice a year. Anywhere between 700 to 800 people have been coming for 16 years in these twice a year. And years ago, we came up with an award called the Darrow Award. It is a very, very coveted award. It really is. They lobby for the Darrow Award. By sending us emails, this is what we did this year. Well, great. Thank you. But we wanted to give it to Steve Scheller this year. And here's why, Steve, and I've never really talked to you about this, but Clarence Darrow was very critical of lawyers. I mean, if you've ever read anything that he's written, he's been extremely critical of lawyers. And he says, lawyers, for the most part, they're not all that creative. They don't read much. They don't create much. But more importantly, they don't give enough back. And Clarence Darrow gave everything back. The story of Clarence, Steve, I don't know if you know the story. The story of Clarence Darrow is he was a young lawyer working for L&N Railroad. And he said, they said to him, well, we want you to handle this case where you're going to represent the railroad against a widow who lost their husband, and they have 2 orphans. And Clarence Darrow walked out of the office and never looked back. He said, what I was doing with my hands and what I was in my mind and my heart wasn't lining up. What I was doing with my hands didn't line up with what I felt in my heart. And he walked away from it. That is Steve Scheller. And if you've seen what he's built for you here at Temple University, it is spectacular. So on behalf of MTMP and Mark Proctor and our firm and everybody that pays attention to lawyers who do great things, I want to give you this award, Steve Scheller. I invite you to come out to Las Vegas and see what we do, and you will meet a lot of cowboys, but you'll meet a lot of Steve Schellers too. And it's a wonderful program.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. And I just want to note that this all started, I think, back when I sued Temple. True story. Very true story. what happened, and that's how I met Sandy Moss, who's now our executive director. And